Okay, hi everyone. This is going to be a video about the Proforge 5, or most about the Proforge 5. I saw this and got really excited, as many of you might also be wondering about this tool changer printer. And I have actually backed the Proforge 4, which was another successful Kickstarter by MakerTech, and I actually created all this content, I recorded all this content. I never put it out. I just got busy. I haven't been prioritizing my YouTube channel. And then this came up, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I should talk about this, and maybe my experiences with building and backing the Proforge 4 might be relevant to some other people out there. But won't spend too much time on that. And then at the end, maybe we'll go over see what we can expect with the Proforge 5. And maybe compare it with some of the other tool changes that are coming out on the market or are on the market. It just seems that the market is starting to expand, and with other, companies coming out with their own versions of tool changers. It used to be just the Prusa XL, then there's MakerTech. E3D had their own self-build, self-sourcing tool changes, but now there's other ones like I think it's WonderMaker. Has had a tool changer on Kickstarter, and Snapmaker has a U1 right now that they are promoting but have not yet put on the Kickstarter. But and then there's also Bondtech has their INDX tool changers. Very different from the rest of these, where it's actually like an add-on to a pre-existing printer, and it has one tool head and it just changes the nozzle. I wish I could show you my Proforge 4 in action, but I'm moving. It's currently stored away. I did get to build it. I did get it working. But maybe we'll just jump into that. I'll first talk about my experience with the Proforge 4. Pain completed in, it was like 2 years ago, I believe. But they raised like almost £250,000, very successful. Then they came out with the Proforge 300. If I go to MakerTech's website right here, it's right here. This wasn't as successful, but as you can see on their website, there's no Proforge 4. I don't think they offer that anymore. It kind of makes sense. It's kind of in between these two models. This is like a smaller version. This is a larger version. But the Proforge 4 was like MakerTech's first tool changer, and I feel they've really improved upon it. And so talk more about the Proforge 4, it's like a kit, and there's like a ton of parts. As I'll probably start showing some content over here when I put this video together. It took me much longer to build than maybe 2 full days for me to put it together. So my experience with this, and other people who back this Proforge 4, is there were like maybe some parts missing or some issues, some parts. I mean, like, it's a Kickstarter. This is like a real Kickstarter, small company that really does need, backers to help fund and produce these projects. But MakerTech was great. They shipped out missing parts. They rectified some of the issues we had. So that was great. Nothing to worry there. Kind of like compared here, I'm going to put up some videos of because I have 2 bamboos, a Bamboo X1C. And I kind of compared the quality of the parts, and they're very comparable. And the Bamboo X1C was just slightly better in quality. The alignment was is the single nozzle, so the line was like perfect. But I think with tweaking with the tool changer, it can be just as good. But that's the thing, because it's like this isn't this is self-built. It's kind of dependent on your ability to build the machine, to align, square the frame, make sure everything's working. Whereas, with something like a Bamboo, they've had like so much testing, and they've had mass produced everything, and they've got everything running perfectly, and the Bamboo slicer and all the profiles are perfected. Whereas with something like this, or the Proforge 5, there's not just the company you have to worry about. That the quality control is your own personal quality control. Are you able to build the machine well enough to produce the quality that you're expecting? my main gripes with the Proforge 4 was the tool heads. Like there were just so many wires. There's like 7 to 8 wires per tool head. Multiply that by 4 tool heads, that you get like 40 cables that you have to plug into the circuit board, and it just got like super complex. They came out with a Proforge 4.2, which addressed this. They basically, instead of making their own proprietary tool head, which I think was a bad idea to begin with, that they went with something that's like true and trusted. It's like the I guess the Revo point print head, or mainly it's the extruder here that has a CAN bus on it. I think it's the Orbiter 3.0. The other thing I was worried about was the cam locking mechanism that this incorporates. So that cam piece, I wonder if we can see it. The cam piece that locks right in here, it can wear, and it's something like 10,000 switches, and then it is expected to break or wear, so you have to change it. It's inexpensive, but the thing is, a single print, you can have thousands of switches, so it's just something to keep in mind. I wonder if there's any similar issue with Prusa's type of tool changing, but I don't think so. So I was really I was put off by the Proforge 4 that there was no like sensor or failsafe should this cam break, or should a tool head not pick up successfully. Like it's a multi-$1,000 machine, and it breaks or it doesn't pick up a head, and then it keeps going and keeps ramming into things. I just hated that idea, and I don't want to sit there and watch the printer over the many hours that it's going to be printing. Fortunately, I did ask Microtech about the Proforge 5. Like, do they have a sensor to know that they've actually picked up the head this time? And this time they said yes, they're going to have the sensors. That's great. Prusa XL has this, and Prusa XL has a second thing. It has in their software, it will detect like vibrations if there's a crash. That it will stop the print. So the Prusa XL has like 2 mechanisms. That's probably something that could be implemented with the Proforge 5. I remember the community for Proforge 4 where someone was working on that, but I don't think it ended up coming through, or if I'm a little out of the loop, so maybe they did produce it. But that's another problem with disadvantage, I say, with Microtech, because it's a smaller company. They may not be quite on the ball with updates, or compared to like these much bigger companies like Bamboo or Prusa, that are constantly throwing out updates and changes and whatnot. But Microtech does seem to focus on the critical pieces or issues. So that's just that was one issue I had with the cam and not having a sensor. The Proforge 5 has that, so that's great. Another thing was the electronics. It looks really nice. Like everything's compact underneath at the bottom of the printer. But I'm sure Microtech had a lot of complaints about this, because I had so much trouble. Like every time I had to go underneath there, I had to lift up the printer, or I had to take the printer like half off the table and get under there. And it's a really heavy printer. And this Proforge 5 is going to be even heavier. So thank goodness, and they've decided to put the panel on the side. Very easy to access. Kind of similar to the Ratrig 4.0. They now have like a side panel, because makers, we got to tweak, we got to upgrade. It's just, we want easy access. And so fantastic. They now have that on the side. And another big thing with the Proforge 4 is it was using Cura, which a lot of engineers love, because of the you're able to like really drill down and to change all the variables. But for me, I really needed something like Orca, where you can paint on like the material or the colors where you want on a model that isn't really pre-configured to be used for tool changing or changing colors or materials. So I really wanted that Orca slicer, and I didn't have that before. And then, but the community came out with one, but I had a lot of problems implementing that. But again, with the Proforge 5, it looks like they thought ahead, or they know that everybody's using Orca, so now they're using the Orca slicer, and they're going to have their own profiles. And it just seems that all the issues that I had with the Proforge 4 is all being, I guess, being addressed or upgraded from since the Proforge 300 and now the Proforge 5. Final considerations based on my experience with the P4 Proforge 4. Again, like it comes down to your ability to build the printer. I've built a rat rig, and that was early days for me, but I had so many issues building the rat rig. And I had some issues with the Proforge 4 too, but it was much easier because the parts were and everything were pretty streamlined. It's just the amount of parts and the amount of tool heads were difficult. So it's not necessarily for the faint of heart, but I'm sure like MakerTech had a lot of support tickets of people like having issues and not being experienced or what to do, and so from that I think that they realized that they should offer a fully assembled or a semi-assembled. In this case, it looks like they now offer backing for a semi-assembled printer, which I guess we can look a little more detail about that. But I think that's really important if you're deciding to back this project and you're unsure about and you've never built like a 3D printer before. I would say get it semi-assembled, unless you're a real tinkerer or an engineer, because it can be quite daunting and quite difficult. There's a lot of considerations that unless you've done it before, you wouldn't think about, such as squaring the frame is very important. Making sure that like you got to be within, try to be less than a millimeter, off, so that like all your prints, especially large prints, that they don't get warped. And yeah, you want to be careful when you're like if you're like crimping or doing the electronics. It has to be done in a way that it's safe, and again, it's based on your ability. Like not everybody knows how to crimp properly or have the tools to crimp. And I think this is going to be pre-crimped, like the Proforge 4 is pre-crimped, but I still ended up having to do a few things here and there. Or if you want to upgrade, you're gonna maybe need a crimping tool. MakerTech seems really good. Like they're very open, and of course it's also open source. They've read successful campaigns before. This one seems, a little rushed, because in this campaign that they were saying that they were going to implement a heated chamber, an active heated chamber. So they only finalized details of that like recently, right now, and they've only produced a video showcasing the printer like well past the halfway through the campaign. And I think that's just because of the way that they're scheduling things. Because they have to go to China and they have to go get the funds and organize everything. And maybe they were behind on schedules. That's why it's a little rushed. And that's maybe why we don't see any reviews. So we don't have any reviews, but MakerTech did provide this video, which actually we'll go through this first. Sorry, I'm all over the place. I'm going to cut this out to be more smoother. So what do we have here? 40K acceleration, 600 millimeters per second, 40 max flow rate. So the Proforge 4, I think, was like double the acceleration, 80K they claim. And maybe it's 500, 600. I could go back. It's similar. Flow was like, 75. But in reality, and the same with a lot of other printers out there, hitting 40K, especially this size of printer, probably not likely. My experience with Proforge 4, I only got 7K acceleration, which is still good, and is all you really need. Except for very complex models that like have a lot of movement, you won't see much of a difference. But I was kind of surprised with Proforge 4. You have AWD, so 4 motors on the outside instead of the regular 2, and 48 volt, and that size, and I could only hit 7K acceleration. I had a compared to my rat rig, which was bigger, 24 volt, 2 motors, I was hitting 7K acceleration. So I'm not sure what was going on there. Maybe I built it wrong, or maybe the quality of the linear rails or the bearings. One of my bearings did end up grinding like right away. The Proforge 4. With my rat rig, I do use high winds, so I'm not sure. But I think we'd be hard pressed to hit 40K. I think you'd be happy if you hit 20K acceleration. Speed, sure, that makes sense. Flow, that's max. The Proforge 4 max flow rate ended up being less than half. The volume is huge. 500 by 400 by 500. So when you compare this to other tool changes or printers, this is pretty rare. The Solvo is coming out with a 500 by 500 by 500. Rat Rig has a 500 by 500. But, most people have Enders or now Bamboos, the 250 millimeters cubed. If you're getting this to corner a market for a business, then you're not gonna have much competition. At least I don't have much competition. Because I sell prints, and very few people have bigger volumes than 300 millimeters. So this is a huge volume. It's if you want to just one printer to rule them all, then you want to get a tool changer that's this size, basically. So it's good. Otherwise, you go for something cheaper like the Wondermaker or Snapmaker. You will see later. 48 volts quad core XY. Yes, that's great. Should help. I was wondering if the belts were too thin. Well, there's just something wrong with the mechanics of the Proforge 4 that I just couldn't get the acceleration up. But I think here we have thicker belts, so that's great. 5 tool heads. That's like Prusa. That's more than you ever need in most cases, except for if you're looking to do some Hue Forge, the more the merrier. But other than that, most models you only need like 3 or 4. So 5 is great. 5 different materials. I don't know if you can need that many. Usually just need 2 materials, and you're good enough with an IDEX for 2 materials for like support versus non-support. Touchscreen, Wi-Fi, great. Everything's Wi-Fi now. Open source, that's great. High temperature, 300. Very standard now. Premium machine, I'm like, I kind of want it to be a little more. I want it to, hit 350. Just start getting to the PPS realm of, pushing the realm of what we could do with the materials. I mean, we have an enclosure. We have active heat chamber up to 60 degrees C. I think we can go to 350 degrees to get a bit more engineering materials out working in the printer. But yeah, it's pretty standard. 300, like Bamboo's all 300. Except for maybe the H2D. Enclosure, great. Warranty, 2 years. That's great. 2 years, because you're gonna get it, and then you're gonna take your time to build it. If you're like me, you're gonna just procrastinate, and then you're gonna waste a couple months off. If it was a 1 year warranty, you wouldn't have much warranty left. 2 years is a lot of time to really test out and to let it break. Things that shouldn't break. Like, I'm not gonna replace necessarily a nozzle, but your rails, you don't want it to rust. Your bearings, you don't want them to grind. I don't know if that's covered in the warranty, but the electronics, you want them to last 2 years. That's really good. That means that they stand behind their their product. And if it's anything like the Proforge 4, they're using quality brands for the most part for where it matters. Except for I don't know about the linear rails. We'll see. Stretch goals, Wi-Fi antenna. Okay. True multi-material. Yeah, 5 heads. Fast, effective, efficient. Yes. Okay, they give some examples of the timing. Yep, these are pretty standard claims. Unmatched speed. Okay. I mean, this is a very difficult dragon to produce those wings. Yeah, it'd be nice to actually see that. Look, it looks like. I mean, this generator, is this real? I'm not sure. These look very similar. These are the same pictures used for the Proforge 4, but yeah, I expect these should be doable. The print head, which again, so glad they went with the Orbiter. I think they're saying it's Orbiter version 3. Smart Orbiter version 3.5. So all the circuitry's on there, single canvas wire. Yeah, so very easy to just slot that per head into the board. Dock switch. Okay, is that per head or just the main head? But yeah, that's another thing that I really think is a big difference. The dock switch. Heat break. Nozzle thread. Yeah. Okay. Integrated electronics. Yes. All these filament sensor, RGB LEDs. Yeah. I have lots of older V2s that have this, except the canvas pot. The dedicated tool board. Okay, this is where it gets interesting. The CPAP tube, very cool, especially if you've got a heated chamber. If you're blowing air and it's hot, it may not cool as well. But then again, if you blow too much air, it's not going to be good for warping reasons. So you might want the part cooling duct to be very fine in those cases. But anyway, support cable chain loom. Okay, hardened steel master plate. Okay, tool cam lock, replaceable wearable component. So again, it's wearable now. This is 2 years ago or more, but I was talking to Deal heads Maker Tech, and he was saying that he was looking into maybe better materials for the and I'm not sure if the Proforge 4 has a hardened steel head. Maybe this is already it. But better materials like titanium or hardened steel, so that the wear is greatly reduced and it just lasts a lot longer. That's something I would want to see, because I wouldn't want it to wear after, like, if I have a switch intensive product, I mean a tool head switching intensive product. I don't want that to wear out after I do like 10 prints or even 5 prints. And I actually used my printer enough, my Proforge 4, that I did have a problem with the attachment. I couldn't figure it out. It's because the pin became loose, but I tightened as much as I could before, so I had to retighten it. Eddy bed scanner, so like the cheaper version of I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, the more expensive eddy current scanner. High torque servo motor, that's right. High torque produces a lot of stress. That's why that cam pin breaks. And again, this mechanism is not used by all the other tool changes. So there's going to be advantages and disadvantages of using this versus, I suppose, the other tool change, mechanisms. But without being an expert, I don't know for sure. Those ones, I haven't heard of them wearing out like this, but I could be wrong. But this one, I feel, because of the way that each are forced to align because of these 3 protruding sections locking into here, I feel like the accuracy for this is advantageous over what, like, say, Prusa XL uses, where it's like a slide and lock. And early days, Prusa XL did have alignment issues. Now, not so much, is from what I hear. Tool docking, injection molded. Okay, very snazzy silicone docking. The Auto XYZ calibration. This was very neat, and I can put up some of my experience with this. And so yeah, it will calibrate kind of semi-automatically each tool head, but you do have to place, at least my Proforge, I don't know what they've got here, maybe we'll find out. I had to place it on the bed plate. I had to remove half the bed plate. I had to level on the bed plate and then make sure it goes, and I have to watch it so closely that it doesn't break. But then once it's done, and then it puts in all the values into the Clipper firmware, and then you're good to go until you change a nozzle. If you want to change the nozzle, then you have to redo this again. So ideally, and it's not apparent here, this should be put off to the side and permanently in a permanent place that you can just tell the machine to go and calibrate whenever you want. I think this is what Snapmaker and definitely Wonder Makers printers do. They have it off to the side and it will calibrate. I don't want to have to like stick it off and put it back on. I want to be able to calibrate whenever I want. Build volume, huge. No batching, no slicing. Okay, this was a bit of a problem with my Proforge 4. The build plate, the element build plate, and then of course subsequent my bed level mesh was quite horseshoed. So I actually ended up putting like tape on the sides to help lever it, because I could not even start a print because it would do the 4-point leveling the plate, and it was always because the plate was so off, it would be out of tolerance and it would not start. So I really hope that it's true that the entire plate for sure will not go beyond 0.5 millimeters. That would be great. It's probably a bigger printer. You're gonna need a thicker plate. So it doesn't actually, it's saying, okay, 7 millimeter thick. Yeah, that sounds pretty thick. I'm not sure how thick the Proforge 4 was. I suspect maybe it was 5 millimeters. Yeah, so that's good. It's thick. As long as you get a quality aluminum casting, I hope that is flat. 1,000 watts. Okay, so yeah, it's a big heat bed, so you're gonna want it quite high so it heats up pretty quickly. Me, I always in the firmware, like for my rat rig, similar 500 by 500, I put it at like 60% power. I don't mind taking a few more minutes to heat up if it means lower power. For independent motors, old uncouples, that's great. Eddy probe in the bed, okay, 500-point scans, great. 9 millimeter gate belts, I believe that's what Ratwick uses. It's a bigger machine. It just has to be, you just need bigger belts. Stainless steel automotive grade bearings, okay. Automotive grade bearings. So maybe, because I had my bearings grinding already in my Proforge, so maybe other people's had the same issues. I never complained about it. I'm sure Mikitech would have sent me new ones because it was under warranty, but I just didn't. So now it's that they're specifically saying automotive grade bearings. I assume they're just better quality and will have better longevity. So again, it's just I think they're just getting better. Mikitech's just getting better and better each time with each iteration of their 3D printers. LDO number 17. CPAP cooling. I've never seen or used CPAP, but heard it's good. Reduces noise. That's okay. I care more about the functionality, but that's nice. 40-watt fan. That's pretty powerful. Materials that can be used. All right. Yeah. But what's cool about this is there is a door here. So it's not like you open it like a Rat Rig 3.0, but you can just open the door. Easy access. Front door, so easy access. Everything looks super slick here. Again, easy access as well to the control panel. Should be easy access to the filament. Exhaust fan. It has a carbon filter. Can't call it filter. There's carbon in here to, I guess, absorb VOCs, but there's no HEPA filter. and which would be a great addition. And I think should be easy to mod, but you just put a HEPA filter on there too. Like, why not? A dry box. So Makeshuck is trying to do everything, and I don't know if it's like, if you do so much, it's more chances they're gonna fail and not do as well in certain areas. But they're trying to beat the market in everything. It was the same with the Pro 4, like, oh, they'll do this, that. Now this is bigger, this is better, more tool heads, and now also like a dry box. So it's not active drying, but it keeps moisture in check. The library print large high temp materials like ABS, and this is true. I know there's a big difference with I have K2 and heating. It doesn't even need to heat to 60, but if it actively heats, it just seems to work so much better. It doesn't have to be 60 degrees, but you're actively heating rather than passively heating. It just seems to work better. I don't know why. I think with passive heating, it might tell you the chamber is like 55 degrees, but the whole part isn't getting that 55 degrees, just near the build plate or something. But if you have active heating and it's like slowly circulating and the whole part has that chamber heat, I feel like it does a lot more for reducing the warp. The camera, my camera didn't work, and a lot of people said the same thing. The camera didn't work with the Proforge 4, hopefully, but it was like your standard Pi cameras. I'm not sure what was wrong with that. I had to use a webcam and it worked just as well. Yeah. Okay, and then you're going to have to connect this up to like a spaghetti Obico or similar to monitor your prints. Raspberry Pi 5, probably people will say it's overkill, but why not? Quad core, Octopus Pro, that's what I use. Okay, slicers, again, thank you so much that it's Orca Slicer, not Cura. I'm sorry for all the people who love Cura. Okay, so the electronic box is pre-done. For any of the people, that's probably one of the most daunting parts of this. If you've never built a 3D printer, the electronics are the most daunting, and you just like don't know what you're doing. I'm just like, if I screw up here, like I triple check, like, okay, look at the diagram, look at what I've done, look at the diagram. I got my buddy. Can you just double check? Can you look? Because as soon as you turn it in, I don't want to fry something, and then it's like game over. So yes, having the electronic box pre-assembled is like something you really want to consider, unless you know what you're doing. Oh, that's another thing. I think they look like 30-30 extrusions. Before other builds have been 20-20 extrusions. At this size, yeah, you need 30-30 or 3 centimeter extrusions. The Voron projects, I know they don't recommend going above 350 because for that reason, it needs to be. It's not to lose rigidity at 20-20s. But then rat rigs, they use 30-30s and they go as big as as this. Multi-unit pricing, buy more than one, offer discounts. I don't have that money, so it doesn't affect me. 100 pre-assembled and configured. Want it ready to go out of the box for exploring? Okay, exploring fully assembled options depending on demand. Get in touch if you're interested. All right, so there you go. So the dimensions of this, like it's basically wheeled, which is great because I built my Proforge 4. I put it on my table. I was like, oh, it's not enough room. So then I had to hoist it and put it find a smaller table and put it lower. This has its own table. It's you can wheel it around, which is if you've got a workshop or a big workspace, having the wheel around that's nice because these things are heavy, especially at this size. So good that they thought that. Still nimble enough to fit through a standard 31. Yeah, newer doors I guess are fine, but my door, my old door would not be quite wide enough for this. There's several bundles here. You can look at that. Accessories and upgrade, print heads. It'd be good to have like an extra print head. If it's cheaper, just get an extra print head. It's probably a good idea. If you're really paying this much, get an extra print head. That's what I would do. Timeline is going to be November. Dispatch, October, November. So the Proforge was delayed. I think it was delayed like 2 months, which is pretty good. Just expect delays. I mean, like look at Prusa XL. Like they were delayed for like 2 years, and they're a big company. This is a smaller company, but Maketech knows a lot better what it's doing now than it has been doing the last 2 iterations, I'm sure. So, target dispatch end of October. Okay, they just released the video, and I highly recommend you watch this. Is probably way
sort of pause the video and
anything I
we would
ever show or talk about. But obviously this looks super nice.
Here we have
super slick.
A raw look at the machine.
It looks beautiful. It looks
so inside we have
probably could only
5 tool heads, as you can see. Neatly cable managed. Where
this is the super safe.
This fan is designed to pull hot air out of the printer.
Right.
So when you've got...
So someone was asking, like, oh, can it have flaps open like the HTD bamboo? I'm like, it's not going to have that. But he's addressing that, it will exhaust hot air, especially for like PLA print.
Your enclosure setup and you want to print low-tech materials such as PLA
in the slicer.
You can within the chamber.
They've done a really good job with these. How they do the cabling now is single cables, and they're not like floppy like the original Proforge I had, but
you can do that. A quick look at the machine itself.
Yeah. Now this is really nice and clean down here. So you're gonna have a ton of filament come down here, and just being able to wipe it out and keep it clean, spick span is.
And then nice we've got it on.
Easy access to the motors. They're not like really internalized. Not like I don't know. My rat rig at 3.0 is like hard to get at, but this is nice and open. It's also outside of the heated chamber, which is just better. The motors are going to get hot. You can get high temp LDO motors, but you don't need to in this case. With obviously a very rigid steel linear rail, but should the nozzle crash, you could have bending of that entire gantry, which is a real problem. You wouldn't have that with aluminium or similar extrusion. Like it's so rigid. If it crashes, you're gonna break your nozzle. You're gonna break this. Maybe that's the point. Like it's easier to replace the linear rail and that whole gantry, and cheaper than the tool head. So if for whatever reason, if you ram into the bed, it's less likely you're gonna like destroy your expensive nozzle cam whole setup, the whole carriage, and you just like end up warping the linear rail. That said, linear rails can be expensive, but yeah. So then you just have to replace the linear rail. So maybe that's a design choice. Also, it's lighter. That's probably the main reason they did that, because it's lighter than having a thick extrusion. But yeah, it's not going to be as rigid without that extrusion underneath there. I wonder how this plays out with the heated chamber, because the gantry bending is usually what happens with the aluminium extrusion, which is always a problem when you heat the chamber, which is why a lot of people will switch to titanium gantries or steel, heavier, but you want the heated chamber without the warping. So I'm not sure how this. I guess Maketech would have tested this with a heated chamber of 60, which is pretty hot. It's getting to the point where, especially on a larger printer, the whole printer is going to be changing, which is why you may know if you're doing high temp prints in the heated chamber, you want to heat soak the printer, which is to like just half an hour or even an hour. You're just going to let it heat up, and let the whole frame, everything heat up together. So it's not going to change when you stop printing. And the other problem to consider is the bending of the gantry, especially on a bigger printer that is much more pronounced. I'm not sure how this will work because it doesn't have the extrusion. Yeah, I'm not sure. If I could ask me, actually, I'm going to ask me to check that. We'll have to ask them in the comments of whether they've done tests with the active heating, which they just put in their Kickstarter, and whether it's going to affect the Z offset of the gantry. Okay. Amazing. So that is the Proforge 4. I hope they do well. They really are doing well. And other things to consider is like Wonder Maker. Ooh. Wonder Maker. So this is another competitor that was on Kickstarter, and it's pretty big. Like they increased it to, well, 300 by 240 by 270 is supposed to be. It's also active heated, I think. They haven't actually delivered on this, so I'm not. We don't know how good the machine is actually going to be, and this is a new company. It uses a locking mechanism similar to what the Prusa XL uses, but it's very affordable. I think it was under $1,000. And then we have the Snapmaker. I just saw this. It's $1,000, but Kickstarter would be $670. It's like nothing. It's pre-built, but it's not smaller. It's $270. So you get a couple of these compared to just one Proforge, and it's pre-assembled. But if you get the Proforge, that build size, like you're gonna have a niche which your corner of market that not many people will have. And Snapmaker is more established. They're pretty good. I think they know what they're doing. Now it's 270 by 270 by 270, so it's bigger than a bamboo. Not hugely bigger, but I'm gonna get one of these just because I have two bamboos, and if it's good, it'll replace my bamboos because material savings is gonna be just phenomenal, and it's so cheap. And if you reserve right now, they give you like $100 off, and they guarantee you the super early bird. So, and it's fully refundable. I think you put a deposit of $30 and you get $100 off on top of this. So, might as well. I mean, I did. It's fully refundable. So, I'll put that link in the link to this below. I'm not sponsored by anything. Just letting you know. Then there's this other thing here that we don't have too much information about, but when it first came out, it looks amazing. Bondtex INDX, I guess, where it has a completely different approach. Oh, my computer's getting jittery. I think it's dying. It's a slow laptop. Sorry. If I understand it correctly, it's a single tool head, and instead of changing out like the hot end and the the circuitry like the thermistor and whatever, it's just the whole tool head with a CAN bus and a single wire, and it changes out just the nozzle. Right. So you're just changing the nozzle, and you can line up all the nozzles, so you can have a ton, depending on the size of the printer. It's an addition to your printer. So that's another thing. It's not like you're buying a printer, you're buying a mod for your printer. Like, look at that. That's crazy. How well it'll work, though, I'm not sure how well it'll line up between each one, but they're in testing right now, and this isn't going to be. I think it's going to be released like late in the year, or maybe probably end up being Q1 2026. And by release, I mean that might mean you can buy it, and it might be even further delayed. But See, this is something I would add to my rat rig, or I can add to my Elegoo Giga. Music here. There you go. It just changes the nozzle, and each nozzle is connected to a different filament. And voila. Pretty good. But again, you have to add this to a printer. You could add this to the Proforge. And take out their stuff. So that's another thing to look out for. They're all probably advantages and disadvantages to everything. But all in all, the Proforge 4 looks like a super solid Kickstarter. And, they've learned and improved upon the various other Proforges. I wish I had this instead of my Proforge 4, but of course, I backed that years ago. This just looks so much better and bigger, and for those of us who just keep accumulating printers, this might be a printer where if you had to pick one printer, just get this printer. Why? Because it has the build volume, like huge build volume, more than most people need. But and then it has the speed, the quality of the parts, and then you have it's a tool changer, and then it has all the latest gizmos from like heated chamber, filament dryer. It's on wheels. I don't think I know any printer that actually comes on wheels, to be honest. The caveat is it's at least you got to semi-assemble it, and it is not budget friendly for everybody. But I wish MakerTech the best on this, the Proforge campaign. I hope it's already done very well. So check it out and think about it. And even if you miss the Kickstarter, it's gonna be available to pre-order probably after the Kickstarter. Yeah. All right. Hopefully it's been informative. Again, I never get to be making these videos. I'm not pretty good at it. I have not properly used my notes. And who knows? I have like 5 hours of content on my Proforge 4, which is probably useless for most people, but maybe I'll just throw it out there because, like, why not? I did it, and I just gonna put it out there. Maybe you'll find some use out of it. I don't know. All right. Thank you very much. Bye.